They say a sniper's greatest weapon isn't his rifle, it's his patience, his discipline, his ability to wait for hours, days even, for that one perfect shot. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes the hardest shot to take is the one you choose not to fire. My name is Staff Sergeant David Chen, United States Army, 75th Ranger Regiment. For 6 years, I was one of the best snipers in the military. Confirmed kills in 3 different theaters. Medals I keep in a drawer because I'm not sure I'm proud of all of them anymore. This is the story of the shot that ended my career, saved thousands of lives, and taught me that sometimes the bravest thing a warrior can do is show mercy. It was August 2018, the Balkans. You probably didn't even know we still had forces there. Most people don't. It wasn't the kind of deployment that makes headlines. We were there as peacekeepers, they said, observers, making sure old hatreds didn't flare into new violence. But tensions were rising. 2 ethnic groups, separated by a border that existed more on paper than in reality, were edging toward conflict again. 20 years after the last war, and the wounds still hadn't healed. Maybe they never do. My team was positioned in the mountains, tasked with surveillance and intelligence gathering. We watched, we reported, we didn't engage unless fired upon first. Those were the rules. My spotter was Corporal James Rodriguez, a kid from Texas with eyes like a hawk, and a sense of humor that kept us sane during the long, cold nights on that mountain. We'd been partners for 2 years. He could read my breathing, anticipate my movements. We were a machine. The compound we were watching belonged to a man named Viktor Kovač. Intelligence said he was the linchpin, a former general, now a political leader, who'd been responsible for atrocities in the last war. He was rallying people again, giving speeches about ethnic purity and historical grievances. Our analysts said if war came again, it would be because of him. We'd been watching his compound for 3 weeks, logging his movements, his meetings, his security, just watching. That's all we were supposed to do. Then everything changed. It was 0400 on a Tuesday morning. Rodriguez and I were on our usual perch, a rocky outcrop about 800 meters from the compound. I was glassing the area through my scope, standard surveillance, when I saw movement. Kovač stepped out onto his balcony, alone. No security, no bodyguards, just a man in a bathrobe, holding a cup of coffee, watching the sunrise. My finger moved to the trigger, not because I was going to shoot, just muscle memory, training. The scope was already on him. Easy shot, Rodriguez whispered. Winds calm, perfect visibility. He was right. It was the kind of shot I could make in my sleep. Center mass. 800 meters might as well have been point blank for someone with my training. We're not cleared to engage, I said. I know, just saying. If we were. But that's when my radio crackled. Command frequency, which was weird, because they usually didn't contact us directly during surveillance ops. Overwatch 3, this is actual. Sitrep, actual. This is Overwatch 3. Target is exposed on East Balcony, alone. Clear shot if authorized. There was a pause, longer than there should have been. Overwatch 3, be advised. Rules of engagement have been updated. You are authorized to engage target of opportunity, if presented. Repeat, you are cleared hot. Rodriguez and I looked at each other. This wasn't standard protocol. This wasn't peacekeeping. Sir, requesting clarification. Our mission parameters were surveillance only. Parameters have changed, Sergeant. New intelligence indicates target is planning imminent action that would destabilize the region. You have authorization. This comes from the top. The top. That could mean a lot of things. But it meant this wasn't a battlefield decision. This was political. I looked through my scope again. Kovač was still there, sipping his coffee. He looked tired, older than his photos. There was something in his posture, something I couldn't quite read. "You taking the shot?" Rodriguez asked quietly. "Give me a second. I'd taken shots before. I'd eliminated targets. That's what we called it. Eliminated. Not killed, not shot. Eliminated. Like they were problems on a spreadsheet. Not human beings with families and histories and futures. But something felt wrong. Not about the shot itself. I could make it. But about the timing, the circumstances, the convenient change in rules of engagement. What's the intel on imminent action? That's classified, Sergeant. You don't need to know. You need to take the shot. And that's when I saw it. Through the scope, Kovač set down his coffee and picked up something from the balcony table. A photograph. He held it up to the morning light. And even from 800 meters away, I could see it clearly. A family photo. Him younger, a woman. 2 small children. He traced his finger over the photo. Then he set it down and picked up something else. At first I couldn't make it out, but as he turned it in the light, I realized what it was. A white ribbon, the kind people in that region tied to trees and fences, as symbols of peace, as memorials for the dead, as prayers for no more war. Kovač held that ribbon in his hands and just stood there, looking at it, looking at the sunrise. And in that moment, through 800 meters of morning air, across the divide of enemy and ally, killer and killed, I saw something I didn't expect. I saw a man who was tired of war. Rodriguez, blast that table. Tell me what you see. Rodriguez shifted his binoculars. I see papers, lots of papers. They look like, wait, are those peace treaty drafts? I adjusted my scope. He was right. The table was covered with documents, and not just any documents. I could see the UN letterhead, European Union symbols. These weren't war plans. I need more time to confirm target identity and intent. Negative. Overwatch 3. You have your orders. Target is exposed. Take the shot. My finger rested on the trigger. 2 pounds of pressure. That's all it would take. 2 pounds and Viktor Kovač would fall. The man our intelligence called a war criminal. The man our politicians called an obstacle to peace. The man who, right now, was holding a white ribbon and looking at pictures of his dead family. Sergeant Chen, this is a direct order. Take the shot. Rodriguez was looking at me, not at the target, at me. Dave, what are you seeing? I'm seeing a man who's about to do something brave, I said quietly, and someone wants to stop him. Through the scope, I watched Kovač fold the white ribbon carefully and put it in his pocket. Then he picked up the documents and went back inside. Shot opportunity lost, I said into the radio. Target has moved inside the compound. What? How? You had him exposed for over 2 minutes. Yes, sir. Couldn't get a clean line. Too many variables. Recommend we wait for another opportunity. There was silence. Then stand by. Overwatch 3. Rodriguez was staring at me. You had that shot. That was the cleanest shot I've ever seen you have. I know. So why didn't you take it? Because I think someone's lying to us about what Kovač is planning. We waited. 20 minutes later, our radio crackled again. different voice, angrier. Sergeant Chen, this is Colonel Morrison. You are hereby ordered to take the first available shot on target Kovač. Is that understood, sir? I'm requesting intel on the threat assessment. What is the imminent action we're preventing? That's need to know, Sergeant. With respect, sir, I need to know before I pull this trigger. Rules of engagement require positive identification of hostile intent for peacekeeping operations. Your orders supersede standard row. This authorization comes from Allied intelligence. Viktor Kovač is planning to incite violence. Your mission is to prevent that. Something in his voice, something forced, like he was reading from a script he didn't believe. I made a decision. Sir, I'm going to need that in writing. Direct authorization to execute a target on foreign soil during peacekeeping operations. I need the paper trail. Long silence. Sergeant Chen, are you refusing a direct order? No, sir. I'm requesting proper authorization documentation for what you're asking me to do. If this is legitimate, there should be paperwork. Another pause. Then stand by. An hour passed. Then too, Kovač didn't come back out to the balcony, but we saw something else. Vehicles arriving at his compound. Not military vehicles. Civilian cars. And the people getting out weren't soldiers. Rodriguez pulled up his binoculars. Dave, those look like religious leaders. I see a Catholic priest and Orthodox patriarch. And is that an imam? I glanced the arrivals. He was right. This wasn't a war council. This was something else entirely. Over the next 3 hours, more people arrived. Local politicians, community leaders, peace activists. They were having a meeting. And whatever was happening inside that compound, it wasn't planning violence. Our radio had gone silent. No more orders, no more demands that I take the shot. Finally, as the sun reached its peak, the doors opened. All those leaders came out together. And in the center, Viktor Kovač. He was wearing the white ribbon on his lapel. They stood together on the steps of the compound, and Kovač began to speak. I couldn't hear the words from 800 meters away, but I could see the cameras, local media, international press. Someone had tipped them off. This was planned, public, deliberate. Rodriguez pulled up a tablet and found a live stream. We watched as Viktor Kovač, the war criminal, the obstacle to peace, the man I'd been ordered to kill, did something no one expected. He apologized. Not a political apology, not a carefully worded statement drafted by lawyers. A real apology. He named the villages his forces had destroyed. He named the people who died. He took responsibility. And then he announced he was supporting a new peace initiative. Full reconciliation, truth and justice commissions, reparations for victims. He was giving up political power to support an independent peace process. The religious leaders stood with him. The community activists nodded. This wasn't posturing. This was real. And someone had wanted me to kill him before he could do it. Rodriguez looked at me with wide eyes. If you'd taken that shot, this never would have happened. And they'd have blamed his side for breaking the peace. Probably would have started the war they were trying to prevent. My radio crackled one more time. The colonel's voice quiet now. Defeated. Overwatch 3. Mission is scrubbed. Return to base for debriefing. We packed up our position in silence. As we hiked down the mountain, Rodriguez finally spoke. You know they're going to crucify you for this. right? For not taking the shot when ordered? Probably. Was it worth it? I thought about that. About Kovač holding that white ribbon. About those papers on his table. About the shot I didn't take. Yeah, it was worth it. The debriefing was brutal. 3 days of questions. Why did I hesitate? Why did I request documentation? Did I understand the chain of command? Was I fit for duty? I told them the truth. I saw a man who wasn't a threat. I saw intelligence that didn't match the reality on the ground. I saw a setup. They didn't like that answer. Eventually, I was quietly reassigned. No court-martial, no official reprimand, just moved away from operational units, desk work, then encouraged to retire early. I took the offer because I realized something on that mountain. I'd been a sniper for 6 years. I'd taken shots I was told to take, eliminated targets I was told to eliminate, and never asked the questions I should have asked. How many of those shots were like Kovač? How many times was I a tool for someone else's agenda? How many lives did I end that didn't need to end? I don't have those answers. I'll never have them, and that's something I have to live with. But I know this. The shot I didn't take saved thousands of lives. Kovač's peace initiative worked, not perfectly, not easily. There were setbacks and struggles, but it worked. The region didn't descend into war. 2 ethnic groups that had been killing each other for generations started slowly to heal. Victims got justice, families got closure, communities got peace, all because I saw a man holding a white ribbon and decided to trust what I was seeing instead of what I was being told. 3 years later, I got a letter. It came through unofficial channels, probably smuggled out through an aid worker or journalist. The letter was simple. It said, "Sergeant Chen, I don't know if you remember the morning of August 14th. I don't know if you were the one watching, but I felt eyes on me that morning. I felt the weight of a decision being made. I don't know why I'm alive, but I thank God and whoever made that choice. Because of that morning, I got to help bring peace to my people. I got to meet my grandchildren. I got to apologize to the families I hurt. I got to die an old man in my bed, instead of on a balcony. Whoever you are, thank you for seeing me as a human being instead of a target." VK. He died 6 months after writing that letter. Natural causes. At 73 years old, surrounded by family, having spent the last years of his life working for peace instead of war. I keep that letter in the same drawer as my medals. Sometimes I take them all out and look at them together. The medals for shots I took, the letter for the shot I didn't. I know which one I'm more proud of. Here's what they don't teach you in sniper school. Every person in your scope is someone's father, someone's son, someone's hope for the future. They have stories and histories and potential futures that you're about to erase with 2 pounds of pressure on a trigger. Sometimes those people need to be stopped. I'm not a pacifist. I know there are evil people in this world who will only stop when they're stopped by force. I've met them. I've eliminated them. And I don't regret all of those shots. But sometimes the intelligence is wrong. Sometimes the orders come from people with agendas you don't understand. Sometimes the enemy you're told to kill is actually trying to become the hero everyone needs. And in those moments, you have to trust your own eyes, your own judgment, your own humanity. They trained me to be a weapon. Point and shoot. Don't question. Don't hesitate. Just execute the mission. But I'm not a weapon. I'm a human being with a conscience and a responsibility to make sure that when I take a life, it's for the right reasons. On that mountain, looking at Viktor Kovač through my scope, I had a choice. Follow orders or follow my conscience. Take the easy shot or ask the hard questions. Be a tool or be a thinking, moral human being. I chose to be human, and that choice, that moment of hesitation, that decision to see a man holding a white ribbon instead of just a target in my crosshairs, changed everything. The lesson here isn't about disobeying orders. It's about the weight of the power you hold. Whether you're a sniper with a rifle, a supervisor with authority, a citizen with a vote, or just a person with influence over others, you have power. And with that power comes responsibility. The responsibility to question, to verify, to make sure that when you use your power, you're using it for the right reasons. Not because someone told you to, not because it's easy, not because it's what everyone expects, but because it's right. Because here's the truth they don't want you to know. You always have a choice. Always. Even when they tell you you don't. Even when they threaten you with consequences. Even when following orders seems like the only option. You can choose to see the person in your crosshairs as a human being. You can choose to ask questions. You can choose to demand better intelligence, better reasoning, better justification before you take an action you can never undo. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Sometimes, the shot you don't take is the one that changes the world. Viktor Kovač spent the last 3 years of his life building peace. Thousands of people are alive today because of the work he did. Families that would have been torn apart are still together. Children who would have grown up in war zones grew up in peace. All because one morning, a sniper on a mountain chose mercy over orders. I'm not a hero. I'm just a soldier who learned that true courage isn't just about pulling the trigger. It's about having the wisdom to know when not to. It's about valuing human life more than you value following orders. It's about being willing to face the consequences of doing what's right, even when what's right contradicts what you're told. My career ended on that mountain. My identity as a soldier ended. My certainty about right and wrong, about orders and duty, about what it means to serve all ended. And I've never been more at peace with a decision in my life, because I know that somewhere, grandchildren are playing with toys their grandfather gave them. Somewhere, communities are working together that used to kill each other. Somewhere, peace exists where war should have been. And I had a small part in making that happen, not by being the best sniper, not by taking the impossible shot, but by being a human being who chose to see another human being and recognize his humanity. That's the real mission. That's what we should all be aiming for. Not perfect obedience, not flawless execution, but the wisdom to know when mercy is stronger than violence, when questions are braver than certainty, when the hardest choice is the right choice. If this story made you think about the power you hold and the responsibility that comes with it, hit that like button, because these are the stories we need more of. Stories about choosing humanity over orders, about questioning authority when authority demands we stop thinking, about the courage it takes to show mercy in a world that rewards violence. Subscribe to this channel if you want to hear more stories like this. Real stories from real soldiers about the impossible choices we face and the lessons we learn. because the military taught me how to be a weapon. But life taught me how to be a human being. And I think the second lesson is more important. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever held power over someone else's life or future? How did you use it? Did you follow orders, or did you follow your conscience? This community is here to explore these hard questions together. Share this video with someone who's struggling with a difficult decision right now. Someone who's being pressured to do something that doesn't feel right. Someone who needs to hear that choosing mercy isn't weakness, it's strength. The shot I didn't take ended a war. The choice you make today might change someone's world. Choose wisely, choose with your conscience, and never let anyone convince you that following orders matters more than being a good human being. I'll see you in the next story. Stay sharp, stay human, and remember, sometimes the most powerful shot is the one you choose not to take.